the hate that was spewed towards people playing this game have only spiked pre-orders even more.
A couple media outlets that didn't get the review copies are now review bombing it.
They got that website up. The first person that was targeted in these attacks was one of the most humble channels out there, Girlfriend Reviews.
Avalanche has no plans to make a multiplayer, and it'll be a single player only experience, at least for now. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Player vs. Podcast. My name is Dalton, also known as Esports Center. I'm here with my co-host, Daniel, also known as Rapid Reacts. Today, we're going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. Very controversial, but very fun. There's a lot to break down, and we're answering all of your questions. Let's get into it.
Let's get to it. First thing I want to talk about is prior to this game coming out. I mean, we heard rumblings when it was first announced, but it was very minor of like, hey, you know, it's cool we're getting a Harry Potter game, but J.K. Rowling is kind of a shitty person. But it was very quiet. It wasn't on the level that it was prior to launch, like just a few weeks ago. Then we get to, again, prior to launch, and you start getting people in that community coming out saying, if you play the game, you're going to be labeled as a transphobe and you're going to be canceled. Playing the game.
Let's be clear. It wasn't Harry Potter fans saying that. It was people who are, I don't want to even say pro-trans, because you can be pro-trans but also not try and cancel people.
I was going to say, I wouldn't even say it's the trans community, because we've seen it all over Twitter. I've seen it in my own comment sections of my TikToks. The trans community, a lot of people, and I don't want to speak for all of them, but a lot of them say, no, fuck it, go play it, enjoy that world, it's fine. You know what I mean? It's people who just like consider themselves allies. Really, it's just virtual signalers on Twitter who are trying to boycott this game and shit on anybody playing it. But we'll touch on that as it goes. Again, certain groups, we'll just say certain groups, and just know we're not talking about specifically trans. We're targeting people who are playing this game or streaming this game and trying to label them as transphobic so that they could be canceled for doing so.
Let's start off with this hate started, like you said, even before the game launched.
Yeah.
So we were already getting, hey, you play this game, we're going to cancel you. You're a transphobe for playing this game.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous take. And I think a lot of people were like, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I know that when we made videos, a lot of people in our comment section were like, I'm going to buy 2 copies. I'm going to double up. I wasn't going to buy this game before, but now I am.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously kind of playing into the joke, but I really believe that the gaming community has gotten to a point where they're over cancel culture.
Yeah.
They're over the situation of like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's a video game. I'm going to play it. If I like it, I like it. And I think that's kind of how it should be.
It's funny. We kind of talked about this off, this recording, but I'll bring it up again now. The hate that was spewed towards people playing this game have only spiked pre-orders even more prior to the game coming out. It was number 1. After this controversy, it became number 1 on Steam. And that's just Steam. I can't even imagine the consoles, right? It was the number 1 most pre-ordered game on Steam. And then positive impressions started coming out from the media. The media was loving it, right? This is pre-reviews, just early impressions. They're saying, hey, this seems to be the Harry Potter game of your dreams.
To be fair, Harry Potter games haven't had a very good track record, in my opinion. I mean, I think we all know that,
It's just the movie.
Like, look at the 2004 Harry Potter versus the one now. Like, they're very different games, but still, like, the bar was set low, I think, with Harry Potter. But I will say, the game looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it showed in the first impressions that a lot of these media outlets got access to.
Yeah, and we'll touch on the media again a couple times here in a second. But like, it's funny that you bring that up, because it's true. Like, in the early 90s, when we had like, he weren't born then. I'm dating myself here. We had like games based on movies like Lion King and Aladdin that were actually great. And then when you got to like the late 90s, early 2000s, and some of the mid 2010s, you started getting these movie tie-in games that were just absolute garbage shovelware. Like you're talking about, I think almost every Harry Potter, or maybe every Harry Potter, had a game tie-in to it that was just like, and look, people were kids back then. They have fond memories. When you're a kid, you like something more than you should. You like a lot of garbage stuff. I'm guilty of it.
You'll overlook a lot of the issues.
Yeah, you overlook.
You know what I mean?
You overlook a lot of the issues because you're a kid. You're not a critic. You're not judging the game based against other games. These are like the first games that you're playing, so to you they're great. So not to poo-poo on everybody's memories of the old Harry Potter games, but this was not going to be a hard task to achieve, making the best game in the Harry Potter universe, right? It wasn't a hard thing to do. You could say the Lego Harry Potter games were great, right? So if you want to compare it against that, then maybe so. So
I mean, but overall, I think Metacritic is set at 86 as of right now,
yeah.
which is fairly positive.
Hmm.
I'm surprised. I think that's a little bit higher than I expected. I had it around like 80 to 82.
Yeah.
So good to see. But there's an issue that I kind of want to touch on right away with that will go lower. And it's unfortunate
Yeah.
because a lot of these media outlets, not a lot of, a couple media outlets that didn't get the review copies
Yeah.
are now review bombing it because of the transphobic views and the anti-Semitic roots that it has, and calling it mid at best,
Yeah.
and that you can't overlook the issues it's causing in the real world. Like
It's
I don't know if those reviewers actually played the game or just looked at J.K. Rowling's views
yeah.
on transgender people, but like doesn't seem like they're actually playing the game.
It's not. So this all started back when review copies were given out. And
Yeah,
it seemed to, and you can see it back and forth between our two favorite leakers that we do videos on all the time. Jeff Grubb and Tom Henderson actually went back and forth on Twitter a little bit, just like a little debate, not going at each other's throats. Of like, it seemed like WB was handpicking certain websites to send review codes to so that they could get more positive reviews, when the embargo lifted.
I don't know if it was necessarily for positive reviews, but it was very intentional on who
Yeah.
they were willing to
Yeah, it
work
was
with,
very
and I think
intentional.
it's based on integrity and honesty.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. I mean, for example, IGN got an early copy. They
Mhm.
gave the game a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Very honest, I think very respectable. It was a very good review.
Yeah.
Versus Wired, who gave them a 1 out of 10, again, calling the game mid at best.
By the
But
way,
again,
isn't mid like a 4 or 5? So you're kind of contradicting yourself by saying a 1 out of 10 is a mid game.
I also think it's funny how they're using nowadays slang in their
Yeah.
like professional
I mean,
review.
it's like you're already looking professional giving it a 1 out of 10 because of J.K. Rowling's views and not the game itself. But let's add on
Yeah.
top of that saying words like mid and just sounding like a kid in, high school or something like reviewing this game. It's just it boggles my mind. But anyway, so it seemed like they were handpicking, websites,
They
and
were,
some were
yes.
saying, oh, they were handpicking ones that were just they knew would give them positive reviews because they weren't shitting on the whole J.K. Rowling thing. And no, because IGN brings that up every time they talk about Hogwarts Legacy. They have a little byline in every article that's like, hey, by the way, J.K. Rowling is a shitty person and a shitty human being. Da da da. And every
Yeah,
single
it's like we don't condone the writer of the original series of Harry Potter,
exactly,
but this is a game in a spin-off set in the world of Harry Potter.
yeah,
It has nothing to do with J.K. Rowling in terms of the storyline, the characters,
yeah,
anything like that.
yeah.
It is simply based in the Harry Potter world.
Yeah, and so they put that front and center. So you would think if I'm WB and I don't want to give this review code out to websites that are probably going to bomb it or shit on me, then let's avoid IGN because every article they post they have that byline. So I don't
Yeah.
buy that argument from people saying they were just giving it to people who were going to give it good reviews. And the whole
No, no.
debate that I was bringing up earlier with Tom Henderson and Jeff Grubb is that Jeff Grubb was kind of saying this always happens with every game. Like every game that comes out, they're gonna give review codes to people who they think are gonna get them good reviews or whatever. So like that was what their whole debate was. Tom Henderson was just kind of shitting, like we are, kind of shitting on the idea of bombing this game because of J.K. Rowling's views, which
It's super unprofessional
yeah,
in my opinion.
it
I think like the media outlets that are doing it are trying to seem woke. If anything, you're pissing off the community, and most of them aren't even gaming news outlets.
yeah,
It's the uh, ones that write clickbait articles, or they are major publications that don't deal with gaming. I guess it's just like a general publication, you know?
yeah. So moving away from the whole review stuff, let's get
Yeah.
back to the community, right? So a
Mhm.
website was created. Did you hear about this? A
Tell me more though.
website was created by that group. Again, I'm not saying trans, it's just people who were, wanted to drive that hate, cancel culture, virtual signalers. Created a website that can detect what streamers are playing the game. So you could go find them and hate post and cancel them and all that kind of stuff. Like, what do
Yeah.
you think about that?
It's unfortunate to see.
Yeah,
Again, I think we're getting into a point where we're not even talking about the game anymore.
yeah,
You're talking about, at this point, it's anybody who is a Harry Potter fan must be canceled, which is super unfortunate to see.
yeah.
It's saying if you watch the movies, read the books, or play any game associated with this, you are thus transphobic, which is not the case.
You ready for
And
go ahead.
did you see what Hassan said on stream?
Yeah.
I mean, Mike, go ahead and play the clip, but like when we do the editing. But yeah, essentially, like Hassan's right. I think a lot of streamers are going to stay away from this game and have already stayed away from this game because of the issues it's facing,
Mhm.
which is super unfortunate because it's a great game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's because of the websites that these communities are building that makes these streamers even more afraid to play the game.
Yep.
It's not even just like a threat. It's like a, hey, this is our way of taking action. This way, our way of tracking you. And they just don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because that's their livelihood.
Yeah. What do they call that on when people go into streamers chats, and it's usually like racial. It's like they go and start doing like race attacks
Like a
on
hate
like a
raid.
hate raid, right? This was inspiring hate raids. But
Yeah.
you support the trans community, and how you're gonna fight this is with more hate? That just doesn't sound right. And I'm gonna say something that's
No.
really gonna piss them off right now. After playing a lot of Hogwarts Legacy, this is the most inclusive game I've ever played.
I heard a lot of my comment section said that, and I too have seen that,
Yeah,
where they even have a transgender character that, might I point out, Avalanche did not mention
yeah.
before the
They
launch.
didn't
It was just a character that you found,
yeah.
and then post-launch with an interview with IGN, they were like, "Oh yeah, there's a trans character, but you
So
can figure out more about that character as you play along."
first, from the character creation screen, you can make your own character trans. You can make your character look female and have a male voice, and all kinds of options there. You get to the game itself, and again, they didn't promote this. There's a badass trans girl in the game. She is fucking awesome, dude. And like on top of that, you have African American characters, you have Asian characters, you have all kinds of races represented, genders represented.
We love to see it.
I've ran into lesbian characters. I'm sure there's gay characters in this game. This is the most inclusive game I've ever seen, and they did nothing to promote that before the game came out. And it feel
I think
and if
I
it
think the reason why go
the
ahead.
most important thing, it feels natural. It doesn't feel forced. It's
That's
just
good.
in there. They're just awesome characters. It doesn't matter what gender they are, what's sexual orientation they are, what race they are. It doesn't matter. It feels natural.
With how the communities respond to everything with the transgender, transphobic type stuff going on right now, do you think that promoting that there's a transgender character would have actually derailed sales? Like it would have taken away from like, this is the actual game, you're buying it because it's the Harry Potter open world game you've been wanting for a long time, not because it has a trans character.
I don't think it would have derailed sales. What it would have done is sparked a conversation like, hey, obviously they're doing this so they could show like, hey, look, we don't care about J.K. Rowling and stuff. Like
Yeah,
it would have brought that out.
they would have felt like they were pushing the inclusiveness,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, of the game.
And here's another thing I forgot to mention. I should have mentioned it at the start when I was talking about when the game was initially revealed, is that from the jump, the developers said that J.K. Rowling had no hand in development in this, right? She had no hand in development at all. And they so from day one, they were like, she has nothing to do with it. This is our own project, our own little Harry Potter universe that we're doing. And yeah, I get the argument that she gets royalties for
Yeah.
every copy sold. That's contractual. They can't just make that game and say, "Hey, JK, you're not going to get royalties off of this." It doesn't work like that. And this isn't
They could have made Wizard 101 spin-off.
yeah. And it's like there's she gets
It
royalties.
would have been a very different game. Again, you have to set in the Harry Potter world.
Yeah, and she gets royalties from so much shit. So are you going to
Yeah.
boycott Universal Studios? Are you going to boycott
True.
Legos? Like
True.
how far are you pushing that line? If you're going to boycott the game, there's a lot more besides that you got to boycott. You're going to boycott owls? Like we can't have owls because they represent Harry Potter, right? Like it's just ridiculous to me. I get it. She's a shitty person. I don't agree with her views, so I don't want this to come off like
No.
I'm on her
None
side.
none of this
Yeah.
should come off as we agree with J.K.
Yeah,
Rowling's viewpoint.
none of us.
We are strictly talking about how Hogwarts Legacy
Yeah.
is a good game.
Yeah.
And it is being reviewed poorly by the media, which is very unfortunate. Again, being review bombed.
Yeah.
It has a lot of cancel culture behind it, a lot of controversy here, despite us actually looking at the game and saying,
Yeah.
oh, it's actually really good. Give it its flowers. And that's what I think we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
Again, no, we are not condoning J.K. Rowling whatsoever.
Yeah, I have friends of all different races, of all different sexual orientations. I have 2 trans friends. I do not agree with J.K. Rowling. She is a shitty human being. But I'm saying you need to separate the art from the artist. That's the
Yeah.
deal here. You know what I mean?
But again, it's not even the artist.
Yeah.
Like it is just set in the world that she has created, and
Exactly.
a completely other team is taking over that, and it's a video game.
Yeah,
I do want to go back to my question though. I'm so sorry.
you're good.
I do want to go back to my question of it derailing sales. I personally don't think it would have derailed sales, but I do think it would have lowered sales. And the reason I think that is because if we look at Apex Legends, for example, when they announced Catalyst was going to be I believe, transgender character, I want to say, or uh, part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Mhm.
A lot of the community, the Apex community, was up in arms. Like, we understand you want to be inclusive, but like, why are you pushing this on us? Like, we didn't ask for this. Why does this have to be, an issue or advertised or whatever it may be? And a lot of the Apex community was like, I might stop playing for a bit to kind of see how this whole thing goes. And I think that we would have seen something maybe like that with Hogwarts Legacy. And I don't think it would have made the people that are making these like websites to
Mhm.
cancel streamers or cancel anybody that plays the game really be like, yeah, now I feel okay playing it. You know what I
I
mean?
could be wrong, but isn't Bloodhound like transgender or something is up with Bloodhound or
Non-binary. Bloodhound is non-binary.
non-binary? So from the jump, they were always like inclusive.
Yeah, Apex has always been pro LGBTQ plus
Yeah,
community.
like this is nothing new. I don't know why they're acting like this is something new. They've always, to my knowledge, Apex has always been like that since launch.
No,
They've
yeah.
always been inclusive. But
I'm not gonna lie, when I first started making content about Apex, I called Bloodhound a he. My God, let me tell you, my comment section was livid.
damn.
And I was like, look, I didn't know,
Yeah.
I apologized. And then moving forward, I got the pronouns
It's
correctly.
dude, it's learning opportunities, man.
Yeah.
We're all gonna mess it up. It's a new world we live in. And let me bring it back real quick. So they got that website up, and the first I want to say victim or the first person that was targeted in these attacks was one of the most humble channels out there. Girlfriend Reviews. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see
So
that.
they went in her chat and they were just, shitting on both of them for playing the game to the point that she was driven to tears and had to step away while her boyfriend continued to play the game. Like that's what I'm talking about. You know what I
How is
mean?
that okay? Like, again, you're exactly right. With the point you brought up before, hate raids is exactly what's promoting.
Yeah.
And I guess you can't pin it on one person, which is the hard part. Like, for example, when we look back at other hate raids like Gideon did on Pokemon,
Yeah.
that's a specific person leading their community to target another.
Yeah.
But this is hard because it's like, how does Twitch or YouTube or anybody else really take action on something like this?
Yeah.
I mean, you have mods, but it's really hard to stop a big community of people that are just like throwing nothing but hate at you. And what do? Turn off your chat?
Yeah.
That completely goes away with what the streaming culture is.
Yeah. It's just like you don't solve hate with more hate. You know what I mean? And like again, a lot of these people from the outside looking in seem to be people who weren't even trans, right? They were just trying to stir the pot, get in there, that maybe had a reason to hate Girlfriend Reviews. I don't know how you could hate that channel at all. It's like
No,
again, it's the
the whole
most humble channel there is, but it's upsetting. But the gaming community
we do have good news with it.
the gaming community made us really proud. So
Yeah,
the they fought back. The website was shut down
taken down.
completely.
Which I think it happened within a day. I want to say a day and a half, maybe,
Yeah.
which was good to see.
So,
I mean, go ahead.
so like they fought back. They got the website shut down. One. It became the most viewed game on Twitch with 1.2 million viewers. Sorry, most viewed single player game. And
Yes.
there were people just going out there, and I've seen it firsthand because I started streaming, going into streamers' channels, showing their support. Like, hey, you're awesome for playing this game. Don't worry about getting canceled. We got your back. Like, gamers came together and stood up against this bullshit. And I was like
Yeah.
so proud. Still gives me chills just talking about it because I experienced it. So
Yeah.
many people were coming through my channel. You saw it because you were modding for me that day. Dude, you're so awesome for playing this. Like, for not being scared of cancel culture, for standing up to it. Like, we're so proud of you. Like, you saw it, dude. And I was just like, damn,
Yeah. I mean, you've made a lot of content on it recently.
Yeah.
Very
I've become a Hogwarts Legacy exclusive TikTok. It's just for a little while,
Yeah.
guys. Don't worry. I'll get back to all the news soon.
But it's really cool to see like your videos are popping off.
Thanks,
And
man.
a lot of the comments are very supportive, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
But then you're streaming the game, and I'm seeing comments of being like, dang, I just saw your video about them trying to cancel people, and you're streaming it. What a legend.
Yeah, they're like, what a
like
Sigma. I'm like, God
Yeah,
damn. I didn't want,
you're really going in on
yeah,
it.
I didn't mean to do it like that. Like, that wasn't intentional. It was just like,
No.
hey, I love Harry Potter now. I'm a new fan. Like, I don't think we've talked about it yet on the podcast, but I had only watched the first movie a couple times, and then, I was like, okay, I got to play the rest of it before Hogwarts Legacy. You and our editor Mike, who's Quincy on TikTok, was telling me like, "Well, dude, it's like the best franchise ever.
It's
What are you
it's a great
like? What are you
series.
waiting?
I
What are
mean,
you waiting for?" And I watched every movie. I fell in love with the Harry Potter world. I was super excited for this game,
hell, you
and
can't say that
yeah,
anymore.
and nothing was gonna stop me from playing Hogwarts Legacy. You know what I mean?
I will say the nice part, and a question that we get asked often within our comment section is, can you play the game without seeing the movies? And absolutely, you can play it standalone without understanding the movies. It's in a very cool setting, great world. I think you'll be more immersed into the story and the characters
Yeah,
and the setting if you do know the movie, because you'll be like, oh, I remember seeing that. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, like this little small detail that they added is so cool. Like
yeah,
the common rooms and the moving pictures and like the NPCs and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
you'll be like, wow, that's cool. But again, I don't think you need to be able to. I
yeah.
don't think you have to see the movies to be able to play this game.
It stands on its own. Like it's
It
it's
does.
fully playable. You don't have to watch the movies. The cool thing about watching the movies is like going to certain rooms in Hogwarts where stuff in the movies happen. And you're like, oh shit, like
Yeah,
where a certain character may or may not have died in one of the final movies. Like you're literally in that room. Like you could find that room in there. You could find. I believe I'm not far enough, but I believe you could find the Chamber of Secrets, like in this
yeah.
in the
I
same
think
spot. Like it's just cool, like all the callbacks. Y
you'll have a better connection if you watch the movies,
Yeah,
but you don't have to.
but
You
you
can just start playing
yeah,
the game.
you don't have to play. A lot of people are asking that. Just to clarify, you do not have to play the Harry Potter movies to enjoy this. So,
Another question I want to clarify: multiplayer. We've talked about this a little bit.
mhm,
Avalanche has no plans to make a multiplayer, and it'll be a single player only experience, at least for now.
yeah,
And I'll let you add on in just a second, but I think it's a good thing.
mhm,
Avalanche, this is their first really big game. They've previously worked on Disney Infinity, Toy Story 3, Toy Story 2, Cars 3, pretty much all the Disney games
yeah,
that were meh. Again, we talked about this before, but like movie games typically haven't been that great.
yeah,
So yeah, I think this is their big breakthrough, and it's good that they just start with the single player experience
yeah.
because it's been pretty good so far.
The argument I made, and I made a TikTok on this recently, and I'll touch on it in a second, is that not every game needs multiplayer, and I certainly agree with that.
No,
Right?
absolutely.
I certainly agree with that, but even though Avalanche isn't bringing multiplayer to the game, the community is taking matters into their own hands. As we
Yes.
suspected, because this game is also on PC, mods are mods are starting to come out, and they're crazy. Like we got everything from putting facial hair on your character, which, mind you, they're like 13 or 14 years old in the game, so it doesn't quite make sense. Although people countered on my TikTok and said, if you're Mexican, it does because we grow facial hair at 11 years old. I'm like, okay, can't argue with you there.
Yeah, can't you like get a full beard now or something
Yeah.
like that?
So I'm like, okay. But as a guy who still can't grow a full beard, I'm like, okay, I don't understand
Yeah.
facial hair as much as I should. But yeah, like you get facial hair. There's a arachnophobia mode, which there wasn't on this game, oddly, with the amount of spiders there are in here. It's crazy. Y-
I'm okay. I'm
yeah,
okay with that. I understand that there should be some support towards people's like phobias and fears,
yeah,
but at the same time, like the developers are focused on making their game great. They're not
yeah,
going to go back and be like, how can we remove this major portion of our game
yeah,
to make it safe or playable for a small majority of our audience?
yeah. So I'm like, I can kind of see that. And then you could turn your broom into Thomas the Train.
That's
Um,
cool.
there's a VR mode that somebody's working on for it. I'm trying to
I
remember, there's
saw.
a lot. I just seen a TikTok with somebody making their wand into a Glock and shooting one of the Fantastic
Oh,
Beasts.
jeez.
And I'm like, that's a little messed up. Uh,
Have you seen this? Is a little off track. Have you seen the GTA mods?
some
Of
of
like
yeah.
people like yeah, like on Twitter, they're like, just load into Hogwarts Legacy for the first time. And it's like somebody flying up on a broom, just like shooting up like the grocery store. It's so
Dude,
bad, but so funny.
it's crazy. And I'm like, yeah. So there's that. And then the big one is that there's a small little team of just independent developers or independent community people making a multiplayer mod for this. Now, hopefully, it comes out this year. I don't know how long normally stuff like this takes, but we have seen multiplayer added to single player games in the past. We've seen it with Skyrim. We've seen it with um
Elden Ring.
yeah,
Elden Ring had more like that was more co-op
yeah, yeah,
rather than multiplayer. Because when I think of multiplayer, I think of more PvP
yeah,
and like interaction with each other, kind of like GTA,
yeah, yeah,
right? But then what I think would make more sense for this is like a PvE, but you're like co-op
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah, so it's like we've seen it with Elden Ring, we've seen it with Skyrim, we've seen it with because they have the Wii U emulator on PC, so they have Breath of the Wild
Yeah,
there, and we've seen it
yeah,
modded into that. You could play co-op on Breath of the Wild on PC, so it's been done
yeah.
before. It's not an impossible task. It might take a while, but you might get if you wanted multiplayer in this game, you might get it soon. I personally just want Quidditch, and
Yes,
I'd rather have that made by Avalanche than
a hundred
a
percent.
mod, like a mod, because I feel like the
I
mod would be
want that to feel
wonky.
natural,
Yeah,
and I would pay for the DLC if we had Quidditch.
yeah,
And if you could, I think it'd be even better if you could play with your friends on Quidditch. I think that's kind of the direction I would like to see them head. I don't see that actually happening.
yeah,
Maybe it's a DLC where it's like, okay, Quidditch is now available, because I think in the story mode it's like banned for a year or something like that by Headmaster Black.
yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like that along the storyline. But I think that a lot of fans were disappointed when they heard that it wasn't available.
yeah.
So
And it's
definitely something. I think that's number one thing on the list of like what needs to be added.
yeah, playing through the story of the game. Not going to get into spoilers, but they make it make sense as to why Quidditch isn't there. But they bring it up so much, it makes me think that it will be added in DLC one day, right? Because like people are going to be upset by Quidditch not being there, but it's constantly mentioned in my first 12 hours of playing this game. I keep getting references for Quidditch, and I'm like, okay, if you know your community is going to be pissed that it's not there, why would you keep teasing it throughout the whole story? Like, so I feel like it is coming, and I'd rather it come straight from Avalanche again than through a mod.
100%.
So
100%. So Hogwarts Legacy now owns the record for the most viewed single player game ever on Twitch at over 1.2 million viewers. What was the single player game that previously held the record?
I'm gonna say it was either Elden Ring or Cyberpunk 2077.
Elden Ring was at 900,000,
So
which
Cyberpunk 2077.
Cyberpunk 2077 is correct.
Which Cyberpunk 2077,
Surprising.
yeah, holds the Steam record, I think, for the most concurrent players at
Yeah.
like 1 point something million. And Hogwarts Legacy, as of recording, believe hit like 600,000, might be closing in on 700K. So we'll see as people continue to buy the game this weekend if it's going to like top Cyberpunk. Pretty hard number to top. And I think the reason that game was so viral, why so many people played it and why so many people watched it, is just the reception when it first came out, right? Because when it first came out, it got all these glowing reviews, but it was because all the media outlets got the PC versions of the game. Then you
Yeah.
started seeing the last gen version controversy, and then all of a sudden people were saying the game was bad. So a lot of people were going to Twitch saying like, what was already the most hyped game, is this game really suck because we were so hyped for it? Is it really good? And then people were like, you know what, let me make the decision for myself. And it became the most played game on Steam. So it makes sense why
If
Cyberpunk's number one on both, or why it was number
if
one on both.
Hogwarts Legacy came out in 2020, same game right now would have failed. And let me tell you why. The PS4 and Xbox One version of Hogwarts Legacy doesn't release until the first week of April,
Yeah.
giving them over a month and a half to make sure that that port is clean and ready to go. Versus if you released it in 2020, you would have had to have that port ready to go right away because not enough people had the next gen console or PC.
And the Switch version is even later than that. I want to say it's August, but I could be wrong. Mike corrected in like a caption or something. But playing this game, I can't imagine it running on Switch. I am very
No.
surprised they're making a Switch port of this game, and we are not going to get a Switch, a Switch Pro. We're not going to get another, Nintendo successor console seemingly for a while now. So, oof.
Let me tell you, if you have a Switch right now and you're looking to play Hogwarts Legacy, do yourself a favor,
luck.
go buy yourself an Xbox Series S and play Hogwarts Legacy on that.
Yeah. It's going to give you a much better experience.
Again, I think it's smart. I think that they made the right choice to not release all those at the same time. Because imagine if now either we're waiting on the port and everything else is done. I think this also gives you an incentive if you have the next gen or current gen consoles. And again, I think releasing on the three Xbox, PS5, and PC is super smart because then you can do the mods.
Now, this is not confirmed, but the only way I could see this game being semi-playable on Switch is if it's a cloud game, right? We've seen this with Control and a couple other like very intensive games that have released on the Switch where they make them just cloud-based. Kingdom Hearts collection was cloud-based. So
yeah, but you realize how big the world actually is about the load in via cloud?
Yeah. So
I don't think you can do that.
if you're a fan,
I would be very
if
impressed.
you're a fan of long load times and latency and all kinds of stuff like that, then that Switch port's going to be for you. But
Look,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. My recommendation for all of 2023 is don't play games on a Switch unless you absolutely have to.
yeah,
Again, like
100%.
I think Zelda Breath, like Zelda, what's the second one called?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Breath, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yes, Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously, you got to play on the Switch.
yeah,
Something like a Mario game, obviously, you got to play on the Switch. But anything else that's a major release that's available on any other console or PC,
yeah.
try and find a way to kind of pivot.
The only games that are going to run well on a Switch are going to be first parties because those are designed for only the Switch console. And this goes for PlayStation and Xbox both. The best games you're going to
Even
get are
then,
first parties. You know what I mean?
even then, I'm still worried about the Switch's capability with first party
Mm-hmm.
games with the new Zelda game. I will say, I think that's what could derail Zelda from winning Game of the Year is how it runs.
Yeah.
If it releases like Pokemon did, no.
I'm going to say with all the delays it got, it's probably going to run close to, if not similar to Breath of the Wild, where it ran fairly smooth, but when you got to like forests and stuff with in areas with a lot going on, it started to chug to the point where like your Switch felt like it was gonna melt. So it's probably gonna have that level, which is like weird for Nintendo first party games. It used to be like that. They used to be like perfection, not a single frame drop. And now with the Switch, because it's such underpowered hardware, even first parties are struggling making games for this thing. So it's just like,
Well, it's because Nintendo, since the Wii,
yeah,
has realized that we can't really compete with Xbox and PlayStation anymore, so we must be different.
yeah,
And for them, it's that handheld, like home console crossover,
yeah,
which is cool, awesome. But you need better hardware.
yep, 100%. So have you got to play?
Getting back to Hogwarts Legacy.
Have you got to play Hogwarts Legacy yet? Do you have any thoughts on the game?
I do. Those that want a game similar to Bully, where it's a school simulator almost, and it's a structured day, this is not the game for you.
Yeah.
This is not going to keep bringing you back to Hogwarts. It's pretty much roam and go as you please, which I think is nice. I think it's more of the experience of Harry Potter at your own pace rather than like a structured day to being like, okay, you're 25 days in, now you can get your broom.
Yeah.
No, it's like, okay, complete these things and then go get the broom.
Yep. I will say, for my thoughts on the game, it's incredible. Like every single aspect of it to me is designed so well. Like even the school stuff, yeah, it's not like Bully, where there's certain days and certain times you go to class, but the way they integrate the school stuff and make it very entertaining is super cool. Like everything about this game just screams Harry Potter. Like it's the universe, it's not Harry Potter, but it's the universe, but it just screams it. Like from going to class and from the combat, which feels so good. And like the more spells you learn, it becomes even more addictive to use, to the characters that are these brand new characters made for this game who I already adore. And like, I don't know. And the game looks
I like how the story doesn't send you off on a quest that feels just random.
Yeah.
Everything kind of feels like it fits into the main storyline. Even when you're like doing a side quest, it feels like it ties in.
Yeah. And I've only done,
which is nice part.
Speaking of side quests, I've only done a handful, but all of them feel different and unique. It's not like typical open world games where it feels like you're doing the same mission over and over and over just for a different character each time. Like everything feels so different, so fluid, so smooth. Like if I were to rate this game right now, I don't give 10s before I finish a game. I'm pretty adamant about that. I'd say like a 9.95. Like I'm that high on it. I love it to pieces. I can't wait to play it. Like while I'm on baby duty or while I'm making TikToks or doing stuff for clutch points, all I could do is think about this game, and I can't wait to go back in that world,
I've only played a couple hours.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, from gameplay that I've seen, from watching your streams, I'm going to go 8 to 8.5.
Yeah. That's fair.
It's a little bit lower right now,
yeah.
But I think that the storyline could have used more action.
Yeah.
26 spells is cool, but it feels a little bit repetitive.
Yeah. And there,
you know what I mean, as you go along.
And there is that critique, like there's people saying like, the game starts off with such a bang, and I'm sure you saw my TikTok on that, right?
Yep.
And then it just like comes to a screeching halt, and then you're just learning a bunch of spells for a few hours before you get to like combat. And then it takes you like,
it feels a little slow.
Yeah, it takes you to get through a third of the game to get your broom. So like, there's stuff that it's like, okay, this feels like a little too long to get to that, you know what I mean? But it's just like for me, once I got it, I was good. I was cool. I was back to having fun. And I'm so in love with this world now from watching the movies that like even the moments like that, the slower moments where I'm just in class or I'm just learning these spells or doing like a simple fetch quest with no combat. I love it all because I just love being in this universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something that we should talk about is the houses.
Yeah.
Because that plays a big part in how you're going to experience this game.
Yeah.
And now, first off, let me ask you, what house did you pick?
Slytherin boys stand up, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Gonna wreck those Hufflepuffs, bro. They don't want it.
Well, I picked Gryffindor.
Oh,
Everyone's calling it NPC door like you. Okay,
NPC
I
door.
get it. I get it. Funny enough, couple stats. Already, Slytherin is the most selected house.
Oh yeah. Everybody wants to be a menace.
Yeah, but again, there's no morality system.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're actually being a menace. It's just like based on the way that the movie's perceived
Yeah.
the houses.
So
that's kind of where you fit in.
So for me, you know how the houses all have like that one word that describes the people there, right? So like, what was Gryffindor? Loyalty or something like that? One of them's loyalty. Like they have different words to describe it, right?
Yes, yes.
When I seen the words for each house prior to getting the game and like the explanations of people who are in those houses, one word spoke to me from Slytherin: ambition. That's me in a nutshell. I was like, this is it, Slytherin. You know what I mean? I'm full of ambition.
Fair.
Like there, it's not even just like the evil part of it. It's just like the go-getters, the ambitious people, like the leaders feel like they all go to Slytherin. And I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going. You know what I mean? And I'm like, Hufflepuff who?
Harry Potter's not a leader?
Yeah. And then I don't know if you knew, I don't know if you knew, I don't know if you knew,
Okay.
look, I don't know if you knew this, but you can go to Azkaban in this game.
Yeah.
Guess what house?
But only one house can. Only one house.
Only one house. Guess which house it is?
It's the house that's going to be the least selected.
So
Hufflepuff.
Yeah. The one that makes the most sense to have a Azkaban quest, which is either Slytherin or Hogwarts or why I keep saying Hogwarts, Gryffindor right behind it.
Just
it goes
the disrespect.
It goes to Hufflepuff. Who's gonna fucking pick Hufflepuff? Nobody's gonna play as a Hufflepuff.
I think that was a driver to get people to play that. Because the nice thing is, because you have, I think it's 4 houses.
Yeah.
Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin.
Yeah.
And there's essentially a different playthrough for everyone. There's a reason to go play it 4 different times.
Yeah.
Because there are special side quests.
Yeah.
There are also different amounts of side quests.
Yeah.
So Ravenclaw has the least and Gryffindor has the most. And that's why I chose Gryffindor, because I was like, just give me the most.
Yeah.
Like, give me the most side quests. Give me the most action. Let me see the story from this perspective.
Yeah.
And now the main storyline, I believe, is all the same. I think that the developers confirmed that. But again, it's the side quests that vary.
And the companions.
And that's where, again, Azkaban. Yeah, companions. And the house. But again, you only really go to your house 2 to 3 times to get like special loot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a place. Again, it's not a simulator, a school simulator where you're reporting back, going to this thing at this time.
Yeah.
It's very much come and go as you please.
Yeah. And the school simulators, like, man, you really got to get that right. And I can see why they didn't do it here. Because like
I'm thankful they did.
There's only been a few examples where it's worked. And in my memory, it's Bully and it's Fire Emblem 3 Houses on Nintendo Switch also did a school thing, but they made it work really well. But even then, sometimes it got a little boring. So like, putting school mechanics in there can make a game boring. So the way they did it, I think, was the best way you could possibly do it, where you get that fixation of going to class in Hogwarts and learning how to do potions and learning how to do, defense against the dark arts, but it doesn't feel like a slog, I'm
going to say overall, I am very impressed with Avalanche. Avalanche Studios, hats off. And the reason why, a couple things. For the previous games that you've produced, not having a major release and not a lot of eyes on your game, this is very impressive. The releases on reviews were done appropriately. You gave it to the appropriate people with integrity, like we talked about before. You didn't release the game on PS4 and Xbox One because it wasn't ready. But you did for the other games and community. Good on you.
Mm-hmm.
You made the decision not to add multiplayer because you weren't ready to make that. You made the decision that, hey, we can add DLC later. And maybe that's where Quidditch comes in. Good on you. If it's not ready, don't put it in the game. You don't want a bunch of buggy or bad experiences within the game. And also, you learn from other games to say, that's a really hard thing to master. Like Bully. It's hard to master the school mechanic. So he made it fun and said, this is what works. This is the world we want to set you in. And this is what we want to allow you to do.
Dude, this is like...
Again, I'm very impressed. And also with all of this being done, with a bunch of scrutiny and eyes on you about the setting that you put it in.
Like, to put into context what Avalanche did here, this is like Sony Santa Monica making
the developers of God of War.
The developers God of War making Barbie games, and then releasing God of War Ragnarok. Like, this is what they did here. They released garbage shovelware in the past and then delivered this game, which is incredible. And now I only want them to be the ones to make games in this universe. I only trust them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, please give me more of this. Give me sequels. Give me maybe even like a multiplayer spin-off to satisfy that crowd. Like, I just want more. I want more. I'm not even done with this game, and I already want so much more from Avalanche. I'm so proud of this studio.
Even the release was great.
Yeah.
You delayed it maybe once or twice. We get it.
Mhm.
Nowadays, that's a standard. But even like when they announced the game and revealed it, it wasn't like announce, reveal, and then 6 years went by
Yeah.
with nothing. It was leaked a long time ago.
Yep.
And then it finally got confirmed. And then it was like, okay, the game is ready.
Yeah.
And here's when you can take it. You know what I mean? And then again, a couple delays and then a good release.
Yep. That's
I'm very impressed.
the way you got to do it. And like, look, it sucks. We feel bad for PS4 and Xbox One players who have to wait another month. We get it.
I don't though.
But like,
go buy a next gen console.
yeah. No,
Now is the time. Look, it's over.
yeah.
The console wars are over. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Also, the limited console availability is over.
Yeah.
You can pick either one. Go pick it up at your local Walmart. Cool. Or get it online, whatever.
Yep. So
it's available.
For those not as fortunate to afford a next gen console.
Okay.
Look,
I'm not talking about affordability. Like, again,
Yeah.
I understand that not everybody can afford it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't expect the companies to continue to release on previous gen consoles 3 to 5 years post launch. That is very generous.
So I will say,
usually it doesn't happen that long.
I will say, for the people who can't afford a next gen console, right? Look at this as a good thing. Yeah, you have to wait another month, but you're not going to get a Cyberpunk 2077, right? They delayed it to make it better, to not give you a,
or at least we don't think.
Yeah, well, at least we don't think. They delayed it so you don't get a buggy mess that crashes with massive frame drops. Like, they want to give you the best version of this game for your console. It sucks you have to wait a little bit longer, but eventually you'll have it and you'll be having fun with everybody else.
Look, I'm gonna give this is a little bit off topic. If you have a PS4 or an Xbox One currently, I truly believe within a month to 2 months, you can get a new console. And the way you do it is, one, if you live in a hot place, go door to door, along with your parents' permission. I don't know how old you are, but essentially go door to door and clean people's pools. If you live in a kind of warm place, go mow people's lawns. If you live in a cold place where it snows, go shovel driveways. If you charge $20 a lawn, a pool, or a driveway, it's going to take you maybe a month. Go hustle for a little bit, and then with the remainder, just sell your current console, and boom, you're good to go. It won't take that long, I promise you. And again, there are options, like go buy an Xbox Series S. Truly believe that's the best deal in gaming, especially for those that are on a budget. You can find one for $250, maybe $300.
Well,
and also, don't be afraid to buy used.
Yeah. What I used to do in the past, when I was a kid, because I wasn't super fortunate, my parents didn't buy me every new console. They bought me a couple of them, just not every new one. So when I really wanted a console or whatever, it sucks now because I wish I had my entire collection, but I would go to GameStop. I would trade in the consoles and games I'm not playing anymore. Or like, for example, I think it was from the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2. Or no, the PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3. I traded in my PS2 and like my dozens of PS2 games. And that gave me a large chunk to put on the PS3. And then I just, paid the rest from doing chores for my parents, or like you said, hustling from door to door, mowing people's lawns because I lived in California, so the weather was good to do that. And and ambition. Again, I'm a Slytherin. I was ambitious. I went for it. If I wanted something, and I'm still like this to this day, I go and fucking get it. You know what I mean?
Speaking from personal experience,
yeah,
I haven't told this story, I think, on here, but when I was 9-10 years old, I didn't come from a very wealthy family.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I wanted, it was like, go get it yourself.
Yeah.
I wanted a PC. I wanted the Xbox One. Cool. I mean, we don't have the money to buy it from my parents. So what are you going to do? I kid you not. I would go to baseball practice, get done with baseball practice, and immediately go get my dad's lawnmower. We lived in a neighborhood that was pretty safe to where I could do this.
Yeah.
And at the age of 10 years old, I went door to door knocking with the lawnmower. And I said, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm your neighbor. Can I mow your lawn? And they'd be like, cool. How much is it? And I'm like, $20.
Yep.
And if you want me to do front and back, it's $35.
Yep.
Giving them a deal. And I at first, I didn't give very many yeses. and I got my first customer. And then I got my second customer.
Yep.
But it didn't stop me from going back 2 weeks later when I saw that their lawn was overgrown and being like, hey, can I mow your lawn?
Yeah.
Oh, did you mow my neighbor's lawn? Yeah. Oh, that looks pretty good. Yeah, you can mow my lawn. Is it still $20? Yeah.
Yep.
So then I started building up these clientele to where I would go out with my lawnmower and it would take me 1 hour to make $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from that, I kid you not, I bought the Xbox One, brand new, and built my own PC at the age of 10 years old.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it. And I believe that there's always a way that you can find to get something or do something.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of these kids that have the current or the last gen console that are stuck, if you really wanted it, you can go get it. And my recommendation would be, if you're going to sell stuff, sell it on eBay, OfferUp, or Craigslist.
Yeah.
If you're doing an in-person deal, make sure it's in a safe place with a friend or a family member, and make sure your family member is aware of what you're doing. You don't want to be putting yourself in harm's way. But essentially, there are ways to go out and get it.
Before you make me feel extremely old, you meant to say Xbox 360, right? Not Xbox One that you bought with that money. Were you 10 years old when you got an Xbox One? Don't make me feel old, dude. Please. I'm like, no, there's no way. When I was 10 years old, the Dreamcast came out. The Dreamcast in 1999.
I was 13 when I bought the Xbox One.
Okay.
And
Damn.
I was 10 when I bought my PC.
I still feel old as fuck. I'm like, dude, you said 10 years old and Xbox One, and I was like, what?
No. I got those backwards. I bought the PC at the age of 10,
Yeah.
and I bought the Xbox One at 13,
Yeah.
still mowing lawns and doing side jobs.
So again, just to reiterate what Dalton already said, this is neighborhood dependent. If you live in a very rough neighborhood, I advise against
Don't
this.
do this.
Don't do this.
No.
Find other ways to eliminate at your house or something. I don't know. But like,
Still tough.
yeah.
But
but it's like if it's a really good neighborhood and your neighbors, like your family talks to all the neighbors or something like that, then yeah, go pitch yourself to the neighbors like, hey, I can mow your lawn for $20. $20 is pocket change to them right now. You know what I mean?
you know what? There's an alternative. If you got a family member or a friend that has a car and can drive you somewhere, go to a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, can I mow your lawn?
Yeah. Or go.
And if you don't have a lawnmower, then you can ask to use theirs. There are ways to do it.
I guarantee you, your mom or dad, like if you're like, hey, can you take me to this neighborhood? I want to see if people will let me cut their lawns. I'm sure they'll support you. They'll go with you to make sure you're safe and you can cut those lawns. $20 a pop. Cut enough houses, you could get your console in a day, right? It's all about ambition. It's like you can't have this like woe is me attitude and like, well, I'm never gonna be able to afford it. You can. You just have to work for it. You know what I mean? You have to be ambitious like a Slytherin. You know what I mean? Or maybe you just want to be a Hufflepuff and just be, you know, go ahead and do your thing.
Bro, you're not going to Azkaban.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be lazy, essentially. But again, going back to Hogwarts Legacy, if you can't get the game right now, there are ways to go and get it. I like what they're doing. I'm for this release schedule where next gen console comes out first. There's an incentive to have that console.
Yeah.
And it gives them more time to work on the previous gen like port that I don't think will be around for much longer. I don't see this being a thing beyond 2023 where the release cycle includes PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah. And like what you said earlier about the shortage stuff, you live in a different state. You live in Arizona. I live in Nevada. Mike lives in Maryland. Right. So
Yes.
I'm pretty sure all three of us have seen PS5.
Thanks for doxing me.
No. We've seen PS5s in the wild. We've seen Xbox Series X's in the wild. I see it every time I go to Target. I see one of them.
Yeah.
So like,
not only that, you can get it online, so anybody could get it. It'll ship to your house.
Yeah. So again, if you have a rough neighborhood, you might not want to get that shipped to your house, but they're widely available. So
look, yes.
I'm trying to be inclusive like Hogwarts Legacy, Dalton, okay?
You're going to get canceled, buddy, if you try and be inclusive. Just want to let you know.
Guys, it all comes full circle. That's what we do on this podcast.
All right, I think to end it, we should answer some of the community's most asked questions.
Let's do it.
First off, I think the most asked question other than the multiplayer is, when do you get Avada Kedavra?
You get Avada Kedavra and all the other curses pretty late game. You get them through a character named Sebastian from the Slytherin house. Don't worry, it's not tied exclusively to being Slytherin. You can get it with any house in the game, but it is very late game. I think it's like level 27 is when you get Avada Kedavra. So don't expect that to get those spells or curses in the first few hours of the game.
Also, dark magic, can everyone do it? How does that work?
Yeah, everyone can do it. Again, it's not like a Slytherin exclusive thing, although you should pick Slytherin because it's the best house.
That's wrong. It's Gryffindor, but it's okay. I'll let that one slide. How does fast travel work?
So fast travel works through a flu flame network. So really early on in the game, when you meet the one of the professors, she's going to show you the flu flames, and every time you walk by one, green flame lights up, and then you open up that fast travel point. And then all you do,
Cool.
like other open world games, you open up your map, and any previously visited ones, you go on it, and then hit X to fast travel.
Another question that we have is, when can you fly?
So you can fly. It's close to like 8 hours in the game. So like a third of the game through is when you finally open up the flying class and you learn how to fly a broom. And then right after that, you can go buy your own broom.
The hat picks your house, but can you change that?
Yes. So the hat will initially pick your house for you by the answers that you give. He'll ask you a couple of questions. And if it chooses like a terrible house like Hufflepuff, you could change that to Slytherin, as you should.
The disrespect, I swear. Can you reset your talents? That's a big one.
No. So be mindful of the talents that you pick. You cannot, at this moment, unless they add it through an update or through a patch, you cannot reset your talent. So what you pick, you're stuck with.
Are there any platform exclusives?
Yeah, PlayStation has some exclusive side quests, but those will be available to everybody else in 2024. So you're gonna have to wait a year if you really want to play them. From what I've heard, they're not like crazy, like, oh my God, I can't miss this quest. So I don't think you're missing out on much.
Yeah, to clarify, it's an exclusive Haunted Hogsmeade quest.
Yeah.
So it's just one, and it'll come to everyone else in 2024.
Yeah.
So we already have the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series console version, but when does the PS4 and Xbox One version come out?
So the PS4 and Xbox One versions come out on April 4th. And for the Nintendo Switch version, you're gonna have to wait even longer, July 25th.
Again, I don't think you should buy it on Switch, but good to know.
Oh, please don't.
And my last question is, why would anyone pick Slytherin?
You changed it. I said, why? Because Slytherin is the best house, right? It's the best
You're
house.
capping, bro. You're capping. Can you go to Azkaban in this game?
You can, but unfortunately, you have to pick Hufflepuff to do it. So enjoy playing as the softest house in all of Hogwarts.
But you act like you're so hard with the Slytherin house. Yeah. When, again, although it's the most picked, I think it should be the least picked.
My Slytherin boys got me, all right?
As you call it, NPC door, or as I call it, Gryffindor, is on top.
That's an NPC choice, bro.
We got Harry Potter, bro. That's what the whole game's about.
All right, that's going to do it for the podcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll catch you next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific as we go for our goal of being more consistent.
Yeah.
Yay.